This video is on how to find a percentage of a quantity. And so what will the question look like? It'll look like very easy to spot in that it looks the same every time. We've got a percentage and we're asking you to find, say, 35% of a quantity. And there are units to think about, so maybe it's 35% of 280 people, or 35% of 280 minutes, or 35% of 280 mils, but units will feature in your final answer, but really the question looks the same mostly. It's what you can expect. All right, stop rambling right now. All right, there's two methods, and I think I like both of the methods, so try not to be really loyal to one and be flexible, and sometimes one method will work better than another. So let's have a look at method one. With method one, what you can actually do is use your knowledge of the fact that whenever you're working at 10% of a quantity, 10% is 1/10. And all 1/10 means is divide by 10. So if I have $380, then 10% is $38. And if I have 450 people, then 10% would just be 45 people, because when you divide by 10, you can take that zero off the end there. So this method really works when the number ends in a zero or is very easy to divide by 10. So what I can do is, if I know that this is my full quantity that I want to find 35% of, you need to understand that that quantity, get rid of that arrow, this quantity over here, the 280 mils, that's actually 100%. I'm trying to work out only 35%, but I know the full amount is 100%. So if 280 mils is 100%, then 10% would just be a tenth of that, which means divide by 10, which is just 28 mils. So the first step is just to work out what 10% of the quantity is. If I need to get 35%, then it makes sense to work out 30%. Well, 30% would just be 3 lots of my 10%, and my 10% is 28 mils. So if I triple it, well, I'll triple the 20, which is 60, and I'll triple the 8, which is 24, and that gives me 84 mils. So now I know 30%. I'm getting close, but I need 35%. So that means I also need 5%. Well, if 10% is 28 mils, then 5% is half of this quantity of 28, which is 14 mils. So now I'm ready to work out my full 35%, which will come from just adding the 84 mils and the 14 mils together, and that gives me 98 mils. So 35% of 280 mils is 98 mils. That's method one. Quite like it, worked quite nicely. Method two requires you to understand, how to change a percentage to a fraction. Well, a percentage is a number out of 100, and the word of in mathematics we can replace with multiplication. So we're really working at 35 on 100 multiplied by 280. Now, I think this method requires a bit more work here. We need to do a lot of reducing and cancelling here. So what I can do to cancel is I'm dividing. I need to look at numbers that I can divide both the numerator and denominator by. And one I can see straight away is if I divide the 100 by 10, I'll get 10. And if I divide 280 by 10, you'll get 28. And that you can see the 28 in this solution as well. So you'll see the similar kinds of arithmetic. The next thing I can divide by is probably a 5 here with the 35 and the 10. So 5 will go into 35 7 times and into 10 twice. And then I can see that this 2 will go into that 28. So I can divide 2 by itself, goes in once, and 2 goes into 28 14 times. So there's a fair bit of work there just to cancel. What I'm left with is the number 7 and the number 14, because there's nothing else I can cancel now. So 14 times 7, well, 7 4s are 28, and 7 1s plus this 2 gives me 9. So I do get the same answer, which is 98 mils. So you can decide which method you like better. For me, I think maybe the first method was a bit more straightforward, but I think they're both valid methods and highly useful. So please try to be flexible and use both. Let's try it again with both methods again with this question here. So I know that 0.5%, I'm trying to find, 0.5% of 200 minutes, and that's my full quantity, so that's my 100%. And if I know that 100% is 200 minutes, that means, let me write that down, 100% is 200 minutes, then you could find 1% this time, not 10%, but 1% by dividing by 100. And if I divide 200 by 100, I would just get 2 minutes. And now I'm very close to the final answer, because 0.5% would just be half of a whole percent. So if I divide that amount by 2, I'll get 0.5%, and if I divide the 2 minutes by 2, I will get 1 minute. So 0.5% of 200 minutes is 1 minute. All right, method 2 would require me to change the percentage to a fraction by putting it on 100, changing the of to a multiplication sign and multiplying by 200. And here I think the arithmetic works out pretty nicely. The 100 can go into the 200 2 times, or you could just say I'm dividing this number by 100 and dividing the 200 by 100, which is 2 times. And then I'm just left with 0.5 times 2, and 0.5 times 2 is 1. Don't forget your units. I'd say for that example, definitely both questions seem to work out about the same. I hope you like both methods. I hope you feel comfortable using them.